Okay, so first we're starting off with the main character of my series, Mystic, which she's had a lot of like transformations, including gender transformations. And so basically, her name is Satsuki Haiaka, which it used to be Sadashi, as like a reference to Ash Ketchum's Japanese name, but I didn't really know how to spell Satoshi, so I just spelled it with a D instead of a T. So yeah, and she was once a dude that looked very, very feminine and looked like an Ash Ketchum ripoff. But over the years, she's become a Neko of sorts, like a mixture of Ash and Pikachu, or like a very weird looking fanboy. And so, until like 2018, I decided to make Satsuki a girl, except she didn't have as big as titties as she does now. She had like really small, like orange titties, but for some reason I decided to, like, you know what, let's make those oranges into full on melons. And I'm like, oh god, now. And I'm still questioning how did the titties get there in the first place, so yeah. Anyway, so I kind of made, or well, I still kept Satsuki's original powers, which were like electricity and stuff, but I also added some like star powers and stuff, since she is a bit different, but she is still like considered a normal human being, despite having like a weird looking hierochromia that looks like very copied from other animes. But I'm kind of fine with that, I guess. But basically, she is, well, I don't know how to explain it, but basically Satsuki is not only a bit different, but also she is male, female, transgender, and throughout the story, she kind of not only starts transitioning a bit, but also kind of finding who she really is, and pretty much just being herself, despite all the drama that's going on, and stuff, yeah. So basically her color scheme is pretty like similar to like Pikachu's or something like that, but I like black and yellow, but for some reason she looks like a bee. I guess you could say she's a lesbian. Not funny, please help me. Anyways, so yeah, I also added a halberd in there because originally she was going to use like magical weapon, but like everyone else, but I decided against the magical weapons and just have magic as weapons for some characters and others not really. So yeah. Next up, we have one of my oldest characters, in fact, my very first character I designed, which is my character Luna, Dyimishi. And so basically, Luna has gone through a very big transformation throughout the years. Originally, she had like very long hair and looked very feminine, but over the years, she has kind of transitioned to be a bit more androgynous and masculine, and sometimes my family members say that she's a dude, while I just say that she's a girl, and they're like, what? And so, yeah. Anyways, for Luna, I kind of decided to, I mean, she kind of is like a OP Mary Sue at some points, but other times I want to like counteract that Mary Sue-ness with like a very major flaw. So basically, Luna's magic, she can pretty much use like any kind of magic whatsoever. However, the only two consequences or contradictions or conditions she has is that she has a fear of hurting others she loves, and she can go berserk at times, and she doesn't really have any control over her powers. And the other point is she kind of is very like lovesick for Satsuki, and Satsuki doesn't know it because main shonen protagonist logic. Anyways, so yeah, so Luna's color scheme has pretty much been the same throughout the years, which is pretty much like a minty or teal blue and some blacks here and there, but I decided to add like some purples as well, not only for her choker, but also for her boots. Actually, I don't think her boots are purple in this speed paint. Whoops. Anyways, so Luna has a very mysterious past, and I wanted to like reference that a lot, so I kind of made her look very, very mysterious and very ominous. Like, she literally, like, I think she's probably the tallest in the group. Like, she's, like, 6'4". Like, she's taller than, like, that weird Netflix adaptation thingy called Tall Girl, where, like, this straight girl that's complaining about how tall she is. Like, I really want to be, like, that's all, dude. I'm, like, really short in real life, so it sucks. And my parents are like, oh, no, you're not short. And I'm like, shut up, Mom. So yeah. I really don't know what else to say about Luna, except she kind of inspired me to draw, like, a bit more buffer women or powerful women, and she is kind of a buff lass, so yeah. So now we have one of the characters that I feel like also went through a very interesting, like, transformation. So this right here is my OC, Christi, or Christina Haiaka, and judging from her last name, you can tell that Christi is Satsuki's older sister. And so basically she kind of turned from, like, a spoiled brat to, like, very generous and kind to just a plain old badass shonen protagonist, but has the same shonen protagonist features such as, like, acting like an idiot and gluttony and some of that. Like, to be honest, I feel like she's the closest protagonist she probably is Luffy, I guess. So yeah. Anyways, I think she didn't really have a mechanical arm at one point, but I decided to give her a mechanical arm or a amputational robotic arm because representation and all that shit. So yeah. Anyways, at first her, like, powers were, like, she didn't really have any powers, but like, time grew on, I kind of wanted her to have, like, acid or poison powers, kind of like something to contradict her personality, which is very, like, spunky and outgoing and very bright and energetic, while her powers are very, like, dark and grim and mysterious. So it's kind of, so she's a contradiction of herself, so hooray! Anyway, so basically Christi has always been by Satsuki's side ever since she was born, and at first she didn't really understand that Satsuki was transgender, but she and Satsuki were mistreated a lot by their father because I literally made their dad an absolute dick bag and made him have, like, no redemption arc whatsoever, because no douchebag deserves a redemption arc whatsoever, no matter how rude they are or what. So basically, with Christi, I always stuck with a lavender or a kind of, like, lilac color, but I also realized that one of my other characters has a purpley color, so I kind of made the other character's purple, like, a more, like, indigo-y purple, and hers more of a purpley purple, except it's more, like, lilac-y or lavender-esque, rather than just, like, purple. So yeah, basically Christi's probably the most interesting character to develop, I guess, especially since, I don't know, I guess she's, like, different from a lot of the other characters, maybe because she's a bit older than everyone else is, but she's pretty chill most of the time, except when she's an angry feminist. Looks like we got another old character, hooray! Okay, so this character has also been through a lot of, like, transformations, including, like, race transformations and also name transformations as well. So basically, this character's name used to be Plum Ichikango, which I know Plum sounds like a very weird name, but I was, like, 12 at the time I came up with this character, and one of my other characters was called Peach, and I wanted Plum to be, like, a complete opposite of Peach, and I'm like, what would be the color opposite of a peach? And I thought, oh, plums. And so, hence her name, Plum. And so basically, while redesigning this character, I tried coming up with, like, badass names or very, like, dark, mysterious names, and I came up with the name Darcy Martel. I think Martel means dark in French. I'm not sure. I don't really speak French or know a lot of French, but basically, I wanted this character to be, like, very badass, but also, like, stereotypical, edgy, dark stuff. You see, like, a lot of gotcha stuff, but not, like, so dark that it's just depressing and cringy, but also at the same time, she is just a nervous lesbian. So, basically, Darcy was black at a time, but I think over time I kind of made her white for some reason. Not sure why. I just don't know why I made her white. I don't know. Maybe because she's a Reaper, and I came up with the ideology that most Reapers are, like, very pasty. So, yeah. And basically, what a Reaper is, it's kind of like my version of a Death Angel, where basically, it comes from an old folktale where a angel actually does survive death, and so death rewards the angel with becoming an angel of death. However, they're cast out by the rest of angels. Yes, angels do exist in this reality. So, yeah. Anyways, basically, Darcy is one of the characters that does fight with a weapon, which most of the time it's actually a scythe. Kind of want to play that Grim Reaper role-esque sort of way. And basically, Darcy's magic hasn't really changed so much. At first, it was like very dark magic, but the connotation of like dark magic is like, oh, it's so bad. Ooh, she's a bad guy. Ooh! And so I kind of changed it to like shadow magic. So she's like that. So she is a bit like that bird dude from My Hero Academia, except she's not a bird. She's not a crow. And so she has this little like shadow version of herself, like looming over her shoulder. Like, I guess she's like this shadow version of her is kind of like depression or something. So yeah. Speaking of angels, this next character is also an angel as well, except he's not exactly a Reaper like Darcy is, but he still is like a angel that literally reeks of, or literally just radiates shonen manga vibes, except he's just an absolute gay dumbass. Gay, muscular dumbass. So basically, this character is Sonis Lucidius, and basically Sonis wasn't always an angel, but he always did have like dark or light brown hair and this like very cheeky expression where it's like, I'm a dumbass, but still I'm like super confident and all that shit. Basically, I think Sonis. Okay, so quick story time. When I was like 12 or 11, I started watching a lot of Sonic X, which is Sonic's anime, and there was this character called Chris, and my dumbass was like, what if there's like a fusion of Chris and Sonic, because I can see like some weird gay shit in there. So henceforth, Sonis was once a hedgehog at some point, or some sort of weird bootleg of Sonic the Hedgehog, which I mean there's probably a lot of like bootlegs of Sonic, but yeah. Anyways, over time I kind of made Sonis an angel of sorts, and I'm not sure how Sonis' personality has changed a lot. Like, he was still a, like, dumbass, but he wasn't always, like, gay. I don't know why I started making gay. I thought, like, I guess he would be, like, a gay simp. So, yeah. And basically, he just kind of wears, like, a lot of, like, sporty attire, because he's like super buff, even though I don't really know how to draw muscles a lot or draw muscular characters a lot. Like, I feel very uncomfortable drawing muscular dudes. Like, maybe because I'm a girl that likes girls, but like drawing women is like completely fine for me. Sometimes I draw way too many big titties. So I guess like Sonis is a bit like is a weird challenge for me, I guess. Mostly because not only is he an angel, which is part of like Christian ideology, which I have a very hard time dealing with because of past history and events and stuff like that. But basically, he kind of represents a bit of my own like struggles with Christianity and stuff like that. I'm not saying that Christianity is a bad religion, but I have been treated in such a way or some shit. But yeah, you know, in like most shonen anime, there's always that token cute character, or well, in most animes, there's always that token cute character. Well, this is them, to be precise. Now, this character I call Reese Magmaré. or Reese Magmaré. I don't know why I said it in like a very Italian accent. I'm not really Italian. I'm sorry if I find any Italians here. Anyway, so basically, Reese has also had some transformations in the past. Remember how I said Darcy's real first name was Plum? Well, this character was a girl called Peach. And she had, like, very weird body proportions because I was still, like, practicing my drawing at the time, and I always made the girls have, like, very unrealistic curves and very looked like they're just anorexic. And so basically, over time, Reese became a fairy known as Kasai, but they would look like they were a trap, or which I know is like a very transphobic slang, which I'm very sorry for those, for me saying that. I'm sorry if I offended you or anything like that. I don't mean in a very weird, in a transphobic way. I wouldn't say I'm that transphobic, but, or well, I wouldn't say I'm transphobic at all. I support y'all no matter what. And so, yeah. Basically, I decided to, over time, I kind of decided to make Reese non-binary, because I felt like, because, you know, representation and all that shit. But I don't really know what I feel like to be non-binary. Like, I do consider myself an androgynous or masculine lesbian, and sometimes do suffer from, like, feeling like I don't want to be a girl, nor do I want to be a guy, so I might be non-binary. I really don't know. So I try, like, learn from other people's stories and try to understand what it's like to be a certain thing that I'm not, and so I kind of, like, try, and that's why I really want to, like, learn a lot more people's stories, so I can understand their own stories, and maybe try to come up with a way to show those stories to others who don't really understand, and maybe show a different side of the story. Which is kind of like what this whole, like, idea of my anime is about, is kind of like showing off a lot of stories that people wouldn't say are, like, well shown a lot in the media, or just not represented a lot. On the topic of representation, I feel like there's not a lot of, like, very, like, mysterious past, or, like, a lot of, like, runaway stories. Like, I guess, like, what I mean by runaways is, like, people running away from home because they feel that they aren't really accepted. Well, this character right here, I feel like would kind of represent that feeling, except I didn't really know how to portray that feeling. But I have had thoughts of, like, running away from home, except not, like, deep thoughts, or haven't ever really run away from home, I guess. But anyway, this character right here, soon there'll be, like, it looks like there will be two different characters, but these two characters are one and the same. So basically, the mermaid character is Marina Aukai. Originally, her name was Mizu Umi, which I think meant water sea in Japanese, because Google Translate and all that stuff. And yeah, actually, I think my Chinese teacher always, like, scolds us about, like, not using using Google Translate in the class, because she gets very upset when we use Google Translate as, like, a short source to cheats and shit like that. And basically, yeah, basically with Marina's story, she kind of is a runaway from her island, which is very, like, homophobic and transphobic and very, like, forceful on gender roles and stuff, and she is forced to marry an old dude. I mean, not, like, old, but, like, he's, like, in his 30s, and he's an angel, and all that shit, and basically, she's like, nope, and so she's like, fuck this shit, I'm out. And basically, Marina, or Mizu, hasn't always been this way, but originally she was, like, this spoiled brat character that was an antagonist to, or, well, was an antagonist to the characters, but I kind of gave her, and she originally had, like, a redemption arc that had happened to her in her past, but now I'm just kind of thinking her, like, you know, no redemption arc, we're just gonna make her a full-on good character, like, protagonist, or part of the protagonist team, I guess. And so she kind of runs away from home, and unlike Sonis, who is very dumb, she actually is pretty clever, and she has a disguise, which is used for a transformation scroll, which, when you open it, you can transform into anything that you picture. And basically, she kind of Marina transforms into this girl known as Sirena Willard. Another older character, hooray! Anyways, so this character right here is Kikaeu Shikio. I mean, he's not really fully drawn out right now. He's kind of in the process of trying to make some sort of pose that would match his personality, or some sort of like way to show off his own magic, which at first it was like some sort of like, I'm not sure how to describe the magic he used. Like, I don't think he really had any magic, because he is probably one of the characters that looks human, but he actually is a bit different since he comes from a line of healers, which you can kind of see when you like see a full picture of him, that he had like silver eyes through like really cool like green lens glasses. I think I got a comment one time on one of my old animation memes about like how like interesting his glasses are, and the person actually asked if I had those in real life, and unfortunately I said no, because I don't wear glasses in real life, unlike the rest of my family members. And so yeah. Anyways, basically Kikaeu has also had a bit of his transformations here and there. Originally he didn't really have glasses, and he was more of the buffer character, but I think he died at one point and became some sort of like zombie or something like that. And so over time I kind of made Kikaeu like the smarter character. Like, imagine Logan, but he had like Logan from Standard Sides, except he had a green and black color scheme instead of a blue and black color scheme. He's kind of like Logan, except he is bisexual, and he has a amplification kind of magic that is often amplified through life, and sometimes he has like a shield ability and healer ability. The shield, because he kind of like depends on his personality, because he's kind of the cautious one of the group that's always trying to make the best decisions and trying to stop everyone from doing something stupid, like the rest of the dumbasses they are. And the healing, because he, like I said before, he comes from a line of healers, which I guess I kind of got that idea of, he has like gray or silver eyes, which I kind of got that idea from Ruby, except instead of like him having like a ability to like scare off like darker dark magic enemies, he kind of has like a healing ability, since I don't really know how to explain it, but basically he also has had like a traumatic experience like everyone else in this series, so yeah. Oh great, we have another older character. Okay, he may not be as old as most of the other characters, such as like Luna or Reese or Satsuki. However, he is still kind of an older character that also has had a couple of transformations, but not many. Basically, this character used to be called Waru Teno, which I think Waru came from like a Japanese word which meant badass, and my 12-year-old self was like, oh yeah, that would be a good name. Turned out it was like very cliche, and I felt like it's a very cliche name, and so while redoing his character, I kind of decided to like scrap both names completely, and try to look for some like meaningful names that actually make sense. And so I came across the name Wystan, which I think means Battlestone in Celtic, I think? I'm not sure, but basically, now his name is Wystan Black, or Black Battlestone, which you can see through his magic abilities through the sketch that he is an elf that can control, like, Earth, since apparently there's a separation between, like, plants and actual Earth itself, so I kind of want to, like, reference that a bit. And also, I had to change his hair color a lot, too, since originally he had, like, dusty blonde hair, but I was like, that doesn't look right. So my mom and I kind of came up with the idea to make it, like, a very, like, dusty brown hair. I'm not sure what you call that color, but basically, it looked so much better than his original hair. So thanks, Mom, for helping me come up with characters, even though you can be a bit strange with some character choices. You are very helpful with some of my character critiques, so thank you. Anyways, I know some of you might be cringing because you might say, "Oh, he looks like an e-boy." Ugh. I mean, he kind of does, not gonna lie, but at least I can make him look like a tsundere, or at least he looks like a tsundere, and he doesn't look like Katsuki Bakugo, or some sort of Bakugo ripoff. Anyways, this character is pansexual, and I've seen, like, a lot of, like, edgy pansexuals on TikTok, which I know that's, like, a cringy app, but still, come on. Y'all use it at some time in my life. I swear, it's back to back with all these old characters going on Nostalgia Road again and again and again and again and again. Okay, so basically, I also had a hard time deciding who this character was or who they're going to be, but basically, after a long time, I decided that this was going to be Reese's older brother. Like, once you see the whole, like, color version, I know that people are going to say, wait, they're not the same race, so they're not brothers. Well, here's the thing. You don't have to be the same race to be, or the same nationality to be brothers, okay? There's a thing that exists. It's called adoption, bitch. And so basically, originally this character was called Unico, which I think meant unicorn in Japanese. I swear, like, my weeaboo ass was like, oh, this would be nice. Turns out it's not, bro. It's not. Like, come on, man. That's cringy as fuck. Anyways, basically, Unico was, of course, a unicorn, but after a while, but while doing this, I decided to make this character a fairy and change her name to Robidian, or Robin Licorne. I think Licorne means unicorn in French, like I said before. I don't speak French, so I don't really know. I just get off of, like, Google Translate because I don't know shit. So basically, Robin's magic has kind of changed throughout the years as well. I didn't really know what to do for Robin, but I decided to do, like, animal magic, like, maybe, like, some sort of animal magic where he, like, summons animals and talks to them. I guess you could say he is, like, he's kind of the Snow White of the group, except I decided to add some, like, major flaws to him. For example, he is kind of transphobic at some point in the story, which mostly does relate to Reese and them being non-binary, which Robin is, like, a firm believer in science and all that shit, and he's like, oh, that doesn't exist, and, like, says a lot of, like, very transphobic things. I mean, he doesn't really know that Satsuki's trans, like, but he still is, like, super transphobic, and I decided to make him very, like, the other smart person of the group, but also kind of the indecisive one, so I kind of put him in a thinking pose where he's like, what to do, like, if he, like, orders ice cream from, I don't know, Dairy Queen, if Dairy Queen does exist in the world, he would probably take, like, hours and hours to decide what ice cream he would want. Anyways, so, yeah. Oh my god, why did I put all the characters back to back to back to back, especially older characters? Anyways, sorry about that. Basically, this character has also been through some major changes, specifically name and design changes. Basically, originally I decided to name this character Blood Knight, because my edgy ass was like, what chain that, like, Mimi powers, which is like which I think is, like, the English dub version of Tokyo Mew Mew, which I've never really watched the real Tokyo Mew Mew, but I could just tell from the English dub that it sucked. While the English dub kind of sucked. And so there's this character called Blue Knight, and I'm like, oh, that's a cool character that's kind of a cool character I want to have in my own story. So I kind of came up with the idea of like kind of a darker, edgier version of that character. And even though red isn't a complementary color of blue, it still is like a common color that is often used to contradict blue. So there we have Blood Knight, which he doesn't really look like a knight, but more of a musketeer, and he was once an antagonist. And basically, over the years, I kind of made him an anti-hero, and he still is kind of an anti-hero or kind of team protag to this day, but I kind of made him like a bit different. Basically, originally his name after Blood Knight was Senketsu, which I understand which I kind of like, it's dumb, but I kind of got it from Kill la Kill, and I think it's the sailor suit that Ryuko wears, which she named Senketsu, which meant fresh blood in Japanese, I think, or Senketsu, or some shit like that. But basically, his magic was like blood related, and so I guess he could say he blood bends. Basically, he has like a lot of like powers that most people would say that is like really creepy and stuff. And so I want to give like him a very like creepy aesthetic, or make him look very creepy, including his own mask, which it's not like some like cutesy thing that he would hide like Zane does from My Street, where he just hides freckles, but it's more of a sinister secret, to be honest. And he's also a Reaper, so that's good. Yay, representation and all that shit. And so basically, I came up with a name for this character, Icoroé, which I think Icoroé is Immortal Blood. Oh, thank God, it's the last one. Okay, so this one is actually probably the most recent addition to the main cast of characters, which originally I didn't really know what to do with my main cast of characters. Like, basically, I think this character came out when I was playing Miitopia, which it's kind of like an RPG, but it's like made with Miis. You know, for my Nintendo fans out there, you'll know what Miis are. Those are like little chibi versions of you that you can make. But basically, I came out with a character known as Cloudacia, and so this is her right here. And now, I didn't really know what to do with her at first, but basically over the years I kind of made her like a badass demon lady that uses a lot of like wind powers, and pretty much looks like a demon demi version of Roronoa Zora from One Piece. I'm sorry, his like first name, or well, his last name is like super hard to pronounce. I'm so sorry for all my One Piece fans out there. But basically, I wanted to like capture like that same badass swordswoman piece. I know like some of you are gonna be saying that dual wielding isn't really cool, but I feel like it'd be kind of cool if she could like conjure her swords from wind, and which I know that doesn't make sense, but I mean there's barely any logic in anime, so why the fuck not? Basically, Cloudacia is kind of I kind of made Cloudacia a female version of one of my characters, Cloud, or well, I kind of call him Calio now, but basically she was a female version of Calio, and I decided to make her a complete opposite, where Calio's color scheme is red. I made her color scheme more blue. And so basically, she is kind of this like badass lady hero that she's kind of new to the outside world, since she's always been in prison for betrayal and stuff. And so I think in the story, basically Christi comes to save her sister and stumbles upon Cloudacia in prison, and so she kind of sets her free and shows her kindness as she never got, which kind of causes Cloudacia to become a tsundere for Christi, because Cinderella doing all that shit. And so basically, she's kind of a nervous wreck at times, but also she's like pure ass cinnamon roll at times. And I don't really know how to describe her except she's a badass and she's a cinnamon roll, so she's big both worlds.